This day in sports history. It's May 12th, and on this day in 1981, it was one of the most, if not the winner, of the cringiest and most awkward moment in sports broadcast history. So this was Game 5 of the NBA Finals between the Houston Rockets and the Boston Celtics. The series was tied at 2 games apiece, and there had been some close games in this series, but this one was not one of them, which had something to do with the awkward scene that played out on this night. Boston led by 22 at the half, and they were not showing any signs like the current Celtics of coughing up a 20-point advantage in the second half. Gary Bender was calling the action for CBS that night. He had 2 of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game with him, in Bill Russell and Rick Barry, as his analysts that night. So, in an effort to keep a television audience engaged while Boston pounded on the Rockets, 3 pictures were handed to Barry from a production assistant. Now, those pictures were then flashed up on the screen one at a time. The photos were from the 1956 Olympics and were of a few guys from the U.S. basketball team that eventually won the gold medal in Australia that year. The 3 pics showed them enjoying an off day in Melbourne. Well, Russell was smiling in the first picture, and that's when things really got awkward.
And Rick, who do you think that guy is there?
I don't know. Looks like some fool over there with that big watermelon grin on the left.
All right.
Who is that guy?
That's you, Bill. Don't you recognize that picture?
Nope.
Russell, seated between the 2 guys, was not having any part of this. The racial undertones were prevalent, but Bender and Barry were not picking up on it. It did not get any less awkward a few minutes later when Barry tried to hand Russell the pictures.
I don't know if he wants these. He doesn't even want these. Bill,
You're not smiling at all.
Don't you want these pictures, Bill?
As Moses Malone shot free throws on one end, the telecast cut back to the broadcast trio. Russell, sitting in the middle, was fuming, and he would not even acknowledge Barry as he tried to give him the pictures. Bender seemed to finally pick up on the tension.
I think we better leave it alone.
There you go.
But his efforts to diffuse the situation did not work. And then, finally, as Barry tried to forcefully give him the pictures, Bill, in essence, told him to stuff them.
No, I don't want to.
Now, Rick Barry had a reputation of being a jerk when he played. He was disliked by teammates and opponents alike. An anonymous Golden State employee was quoted in a Sports Illustrated article saying, "You'll never find a bunch of players sitting around talking about the good old days with Rick. His teammates and his opponents generally and thoroughly detested him." Mike Dunleavy played with Barry a couple of years in Houston and got to know him pretty well, and he said, "Rick Barry lacks diplomacy. If they sent him to the UN, he'd end up starting World War III." Now, that seemed to be on full display on this night for sure. Now, Bill Russell had dealt with overt racism during his playing days in Boston. He loved the Celtics, and he loved his teammates, but he was not a fan of the town or the people who lived there. So to hear Barry's tone-deaf remarks delivered on live television just revived a lot of what he'd dealt with in the past. Barry did end up apologizing to Bill about his comments, and Russell thought his apology was sincere, but it still didn't do much to make this one, if not the top, awkward moment in the history of sports broadcasting. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 1997, Kobe Bryant had a game that most of us would want to forget about quickly. Instead, he used it as motivation to get better and get stronger. It was Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals, with the Lakers hoping to stay alive against the Utah Jazz, who led the series 3-1. Kobe was anxious to make his mark in the postseason, and with time winding down in regulation and the game tied at 89, the 18-year-old Kobe had the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game.
Kobe Bryant, the young rookie, straight from high school. 8 seconds left. Bryant guarded by Russell. 5 seconds left. 4. Bryant drives, pull up, shot on the way. No good. 12 of those rebounds. We go to
So the game headed to overtime. Early in the OT, Shaq fouled out, and it seemed like Bryant was the only one willing to step up and take shots. But Kobe kept missing, and not just missing shots, missing everything.
wide right, Van Exel fake stock away. Cross court left, open Kobe Bryant for 3, another air ball. He shoots back-to-back air balls. Jazz basketball. Jazz with him. Stockton all over him. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Here's a three-pointer air ball at the end by Kobe Bryant. Another air ball.
In the overtime, he shot another 4 air balls, including 2 in the final 45 seconds that would have tied the game and sent it to a second overtime. The loss closed out the Lakers' season, but to Kobe's credit, he did not let the failure in crunch time of this game define him. After the game, he was embarrassed, but then he understood one key thing. He'd gone directly from high school to the NBA. In high school, he played only 30 to 35 games. The NBA is an 82-game grind followed by playoffs. This was game 87 for him, and he knew what prevented him from making those shots on this night was his leg strength. So he got stronger, and he started to work on his game at 3 a.m. after leaving the Forum that night, heading to Palisades High School, where a janitor let him in, and he shot for hours on end. Before his career ended in 2016, Kobe had 5 championship rings and was considered one of the best to take the shot in the final seconds. On this day in 1979, Chris Evert lost in the semifinals of the Italian Open in a third-set tiebreak to Tracy Austin. Now, that was a huge loss because the Italian Open is played on clay, and Evert was the master on the surface. Austin's win on this day ended Chris Evert's streak of 125 consecutive wins on clay that started back in 1973, nearly 6 years prior. Well, during that span, she'd only dropped 8 sets. Now, that's the most of any other woman or man in the history of professional tennis. By comparison, Rafael Nadal's longest win streak on clay was 81 matches, and Nadal is considered the men's greatest on the surface. Interestingly, after losing this match to Austin, Evert went back out and won the next 72 matches she played on clay. On this day in 1970, Mr. Cub Ernie Banks hit career home run number 500. Banks blasted a 1-1 offering from Atlanta pitcher Pat Jarvis into the bleacher seats, which were mostly empty that day. At the time, the 39-year-old Banks was the 9th major leaguer to hit 500 home runs. This was Banks' final season in the majors, and he had another 12 dingers that year to finish with 512 career home runs. And in 2012, golfer Rhein Gibson, then a 26-year-old professional golfer from Australia, got around the River Oaks Golf Club in Edmund, Oklahoma in 55 strokes. Again, 18 holes, 55 shots. So this was not tournament golf, not a PGA event or a mini-tour event or anything like that. It was a Saturday morning round with friends, but this was also not a putt-putt course. River Oaks was a full-length 6,700-yard par 71 golf course. Gibson made 12 birdies and 2 eagles on his way to a 16-under round. It is the lowest recorded score, outside of North Korea that is, ever shot on a full-length golf course, and is in the Guinness Book of World Records as such. Time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. It's a pretty well-known fact that Hollywood actors and actresses changed their names, right? Norma Jean Baker became Marilyn Monroe. Marion Robert Morrison had his name changed to John Wayne. But those were studio creations. Joan Crawford was born Lucille Fay LeSueur. Her stage name was selected in a Name That Star contest. Names were suggested with the winner given $1,000. Crawford apparently hated the name, thinking it invoked images of a crawfish. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.